What's up guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Selina and today I'm going to be doing a review on this thriller slash crime K-drama called Children of Nobody, also known as Bulgun Dal Puranhe. I think that's how you say it. And while doing the review, I'm going to be doing my makeup because I got somewhere to go. By somewhere I mean the drugstore. So the synopsis of the drama is Yi-Kyung works as a child counselor at a children's center. Her life is perfect. She enjoys her job. She is married to a seemingly loving husband and she is pregnant with her second child. An accident changes Yi-Kyung's life. She faces various incidents and digs up the truth. Meanwhile, Kanji Hyun works as a detective. He firmly believes criminals should be punished by the full extent of the law. He holds pain within himself from his past that he hides. The drama starts off with a school event where they're doing like a relay race. Is it relay when you pass the baton? Yeah, so they're doing a relay race. Hyun is the last kid to get past the baton, but he ends up winning the race. Yeah, so the race is done and all the parents are gathering around their kids. And Siwon is the only one by himself, and as he's looking around, he sees a little girl in a red dress jumping rope. So then the camera pans out and he looks away, and when he looks back, the little girl isn't there anymore. So after that, you see Siwon go to the top of a staircase. Siwon goes to the top of the stairs and ends up jumping off. So the next scene, Siwon is at Woo-Kyung's office getting a consultation. Siwon is at her office and she's doing a consultation and she's trying to get him to talk about what just happened with him jumping down the stairs, but he isn't really budging or telling her anything. So he then asks her for a cup of water because he says he's thirsty. So when she gets up to go and get him a drink, he sees that she is pregnant. So Siwon asks her when Woo-Kyung's due date is. Woo-Kyung doesn't answer his question and instead ends up sharing with him about how excited her daughter is for the new baby, and Siwon's like, having a new baby isn't always a good thing. And Woo-Kyung seems super creeped out by what he just said. So yeah, Woo-Kyung asks him why does he think having a new baby is not a good thing, and he shares with her that his younger sister had died. Next scene, we have a woman getting released from prison. Her name is Ji-Hye. Ji-Hye just got out of prison where she served only 2 years for murdering her child. Yeah. As she's leaving the prison, there's a mob of protesters who are protesting her release. Yeah, so there's a mob of protesters out waiting for her, and she gets egged and flowered because they're angry at her being released since she is a child killer. So at home, Yi-Kyung is preparing breakfast for her husband. I don't know how they're trying to say this man is loving. Like, his wife is like heavily pregnant and this man's sitting there watching her make breakfast. Anyways, so Woo-Kyung's setting the table for breakfast, and then her husband lets us know that this day that she is cooking breakfast for him is her birthday. So not only is she heavily pregnant and doing all these house chores, it's also her birthday. Like, ugh. She then calls Soo, her daughter, to come and eat her breakfast. And while waiting for the daughter, she sees on TV that Ji-Hye has been released from jail. So afterwards, Woo-Kyung heads out and ends up driving by Ji-Hye's house, which has mad graffiti all over it. And she stopped for a while and was watching Ji-Hye get out the house to put out her trash. Woo-Kyung then ends up driving off, and she's at a hospital. So at the hospital, Woo-Kyung is talking to her stepmother about Ji-Hye's release. The stepmother is very sympathetic towards Ji-Hye, and Woo-Kyung is like, this lady murdered her child. And the mother is like, she didn't murder her child. Her husband did, and all she did was cover it up. But I'm like, what's the difference? Like, this lady literally burned her child's dead body to hide evidence of him being murdered after the husband killed the kid. Like, what is this stepmom on? The mom is like, oh, people should sympathize with her more, and that she's already paid for her crimes, and it's not as if like she killed her child. And then Woo-Kyung's like, she burned the kid after finding out her husband killed their child. Like, and the stepmom's like, so yeah. And the stepmom's like, I mean, what else was she supposed to do? She probably had a reason to keep her marriage. I'm like, what? Stepmom, what are you talking about? Anyways, so yeah, the stepmom's like, that's all she could have done in that situation to keep her marriage, because she probably depended a lot on the husband. And Woo-Kyung's like, what the fuck? But honestly, this conversation between Woo-Kyung and her stepmother had me cheesed, because everything the stepmother was saying, I'm like, why you keep making excuses for this woman? So Woo-Kyung pretty much sums up Ji-Hye as a devil for what she has done, and that is her opinion of her. So the reason why they're at the hospital is because Woo-Kyung's younger sister, Se-Kyung, is there because she is in a vegetative state. During the conversation, Woo-Kyung notices that her sister opens her eyes. So Woo-Kyung ends up telling her husband about this development of her sister. And she's saying that it could be more than just a flicker of her eyes opening. Maybe she's regaining her consciousness. And her husband is like brushing off what she's saying and agrees with the doctors that this could be like nothing and shouldn't be taken too serious or whatever. But Woo-Kyung is adamant that it could be a big development. And while talking on the phone, he ends up like not even finishing the conversation with her and cuts the phone like abruptly without even saying like bye or anything. He just hangs up. He's like, oh, I'm busy, I got to go. Yeah, so next scene, Ji-Hye is at home and she's frantically cleaning up all the evidence that shows that she had a kid. Like, she's cleaning up all the toys and stuff. So she ends up going to her room, or a bedroom, and there is a picture of her husband and her son in that room, and she ends up ripping it into and putting back up the picture of her and her husband. So after that, the next scene is of a white car driving into either a lake or an abandoned amusement park, because I don't know what to call it. It had a junkyard. It had like a carousel, and then it had like a grand piano. So I was like, what the hell is this place? So confusing. So the car ends up driving into the junkyard slash amusement park, and then the lights turn off and the car ends up going on fire. So in the next scene, the phone is ringing and we are shown a very messy-ish apartment. Like there's just a whole bunch of junk food laying around and stuff, and then we see it pan to a bathroom and a person is in the bathtub, and this person is Ji-Hyun, and then he gets up and like he is fully wet, like he's fully dressed and he's wet. So this man slept in the bathtub filled with water. Like sleeping in the bathtub is one thing, but he slept wet. Anyway, so back at the crime scene where the car was set ablaze, Ji-Hyun shows up and he's all bandaged up. Like not like crazy bandages, but like he's got a few cuts and bruises, so he has like bandages here and there. His sunbae or his boss or his deputy, I don't know exactly what to call him at this moment, but yeah, he questions him about the band-aids on his faces. He tells his deputy officer that he was at a bachelor party and he got into he just says he was at a bachelor party. So they found out that Ji-Hye is the one that was in the car that was set ablaze, and they ruled her death as a homicide because they found an anesthesia used by like doctors in her system. Ji-Hyun starts investigating the death of Ji-Hye, and that's how he ends up meeting Woo-Kyung, because she was in a set of pictures of people who were protesting against Ji-Hye when she was on trial, I think. As Ji-Hyun continues his investigations, new cases of suicides are popping up, and he notices a strange connection between the cases and Hanul Center, the children's center that Woo-Kyung works at. And yeah, so that's the first episode recapped. So character breakdowns. Let's start with Cha Woo-Kyung, who is played by Kim Sana. So at the beginning of the show, I guess they wanted to show us that Woo-Kyung's life is pretty good and successful because of her career, her being pregnant, and her happy household, it seems. But shit hits the fan when Woo-Kyung is driving home and ends up accidentally hitting a child. And while hitting the child, instead of seeing the actual little boy that she hit, she sees a little girl in a green dress instead. We then see that, one, this is not the first time that she's seen this little girl, and she constantly sees images of the girl. So the girl ends up leading her to places where children are being abused or need help. So while trying to figure out who this little girl in the green dress is, and trying to figure out who the child who she hit belongs to, she ends up helping Ji-Hyun with his investigations to find out who the murderer of these abusive parents is. She ends up having a miscarriage and her husband leaves her for his mistress. That scene pissed me off. Like, how dare he? His wife, like, her husband ain't shit. His wife is going through stuff and basically had a mental breakdown. And what does this man go and do? He goes to his office worker and ends up having an affair. And the crazy thing is, the office worker is Ji-Hyun's ex-girlfriend. So her sister, who's in the hospital. The reason why she's in the hospital is because her and Woo-Kyung had an argument, and that same night her sister got into a car crash. So Woo-Kyung is feeling pretty guilty about that. Woo-Kyung does not take child abuse lightly. Like, she thinks anybody who abuses their child is very disgusting and deserves to be wiped off the face of the earth. And she said multiple times that she doesn't really like people who abuse their kids, and she finds them disgusting and thinks they should be wiped off the face of the earth. For example, she had a friend who they were both, who were protesting what Ji-Hye did against Ji-Hye and what she did, right? And it turns out that her friend, who is Bitna's mom, was abusing her daughter. And when when Woo-Kyung got a hint of Bitna's mom being abusive, she dropped her so quick. But she couldn't really do anything about it because she had no evidence of the actual abuse. But she was like, how you protesting against Ji-Hye and you here beating the shit out of your daughter and like forcing her to it's one thing to tell your kids to study, but the way this lady was doing it, I'm like, what the hell? But like Bitna, like, she's a little weirdo herself too, because she only went out and told about her abuse because she caught her mom and her tutor, like, flirting. I'm like, Bitna, you're like 10. He's not gonna be into you. What are you doing? But yeah, that was her motivation to finally come out that her mother is abusing her. I was like, I mean, I'm glad you told, but your motivation for this is not adding up. Woo-Kyung a little crazy cause this girl, like, and her hallucination with the girl in the green dress added with all the stress that she goes through, and then her like hitting the kid and the kid dying, like she's a little loose in the head. But when you watch the show and you find out her story, you will understand why. Like, it's actually so sad. Like, I don't know, I want to spoil something, but I don't want to spoil everything, so I'm keeping stuff hush hush because I actually want you guys to watch the show. It was so good. Anyways, yeah, she a little nuts in the head because first, when she finally finds the kid's birth mother, she realizes this woman is not shit. Like, the lady doesn't really care that Woo-Kyung hit her son and ended up killing him. Instead, she's like, oh, you killed my son? Give me some money so I can pay off some credit loans. That's what she said. I was like, what the hell? Even I was like, what the hell? But Woo-Kyung, she got mad at her and was gonna, like, she imagined herself running her over with her car. And because of this, I understand why. Like, because of this, at some points, and the way she acted, at some points, I thought it could very much be possible that Woo-Kyung is red cry. Mommy, can you turn down the volume? But yeah, so the way Woo-Kyung acted, it made me sometimes feel like she could possibly be red cry because, one, she crazy, she a little nuts. She out here hallucinating with some little girl. And then there's a website that she gave to one of the kids' moms who she was counseling. And at that website, that's where that lady meets Red Cry, and Red Cry ends up killing her abusive husband. But her abusive husband wasn't shit. He was out here like breaking the kid's fingers and his wife, like harming them so he can collect insurance money. Like, how does that even work? I don't get it. But yeah, that's what he was doing. So Red Cry offed him for the mom. And the mom at first thought that Woo-Kyung was the one who was Red Cry because, one, Red Cry knew a lot of secrets that she had between Woo-Kyung and her. And so, yeah. What was I saying? So the next character, Kanji Hyun. So Ji-Hyun is played by the actor Yi-Kyung. And I just read a fun fact that Jang-Hyuk was given this role, but he rejected the offer. I think he would have been a really good actor for this job. I think Yi-Kyung did great, like he was good, but if it was Jang-Hyuk, he would have taken to that. Like, I just felt like, I don't know, now that I hear this, I feel like Jang-Hyuk would have like killed it. I don't know, I just like that actor anyways. I was gonna call him by the actor's name. So Kanji Hyun is a pretty much straightforward guy. Like, throughout the show, well, like at the beginning when we first met him, anyways, at the beginning when we first met him, we see that he's very straightforward with his views. Like, if you commit a crime, you gotta pay the time, and like, yeah, he could easily tell between right and wrong, but he was a little bit weird when it came to his relationship. So his his weird ass ex-girlfriend, who is out here having an affair with her boss, who is married, so they have issues. And so I don't like, they don't really explain exactly why they broke up, but they insinuate it kind of in a way, because they showed like a flashback, because he came up to her and he's like, oh, how could you cheat with a married man who just had a baby, because he doesn't know that she had a miscarriage. Like, how could you do that? And she's like, babies? You want to talk to me about babies? I don't think you're the type. You are the person who should be coming up to me talking about no babies. I'm like, so they have a flashback of her announcing that she's pregnant to him, and he's just like, ugh, like, wait. So yeah, that's the flashback they have, but they don't show, does he say, oh, like, have an abortion, drive her to the abortion clinic right after or something? Because they don't show that. They just insinuate that that's the reason why they broke up. Well, they don't say that's the reason why they broke up. They just show us that flashback, and then boom, done. We don't see how they broke up, why they broke up. Like, it was just that. But like, yeah, she was excited about the baby, he wasn't. And so, I don't know, he still has attachments to her, because he would continuously call her and follow her around until he meets Woo-Kyung, and then he's like, you know. And no, I think what completely turned him off was seeing her with Woo-Kyung's husband. And he's just like, after that we don't really see him talking about his ex-girlfriend much anymore, or like anything like that. Yeah, so like, overall, I think he was a great cop. Like, his intuition about Eun-ho was spot on. But the thing is, he knew Eun-ho from before. So, cause like, he knew Eun-ho from the past, and because of the past, when he saw that Eun-ho was caught up in this case, he's like, this nigga the killer. Like, straight away he was like, you're suspicious, arrested. But yeah, so he was a good character, and I'm not gonna lie, I shipped him and Woo-Kyung. The first time I watched it, I definitely shipped them, but the second time I watched it, like, I was like, oh, there's not, because I was reading my thoughts, because I wrote this review after I watched it the first time, and this movie came out in this TV show came out in like 2018. It's been a long time, so I rewatched it so I can do this review. And now that I rewatched it, I'm like, I don't like, yeah, it would be nice if they got together, but like, at the end of the day, rewatching it now, my opinion from 2019 has changed, and I don't think the show really needed romance, even though I did ship him with Woo-Kyung at some point in 2019. I don't know, I guess it's because I was just off my freaking romance K-drama binge, so I'm like, so nobody in this show is gonna date? The next character is Soo Young, who is played by Gyu-Ri. Now this character, like, I don't really know what to feel about her. Like, she could be written out of the show, and no offense to the actress, like, she could be written out and the show would have been just fine. Like, they didn't really need to bring this female officer in. But like, with her in it and with her out of it, the show could hold its own. Oh my god. At the beginning, Soo Young is introduced as the new detective at the workplace police force. And on her first day, she ends up going to the police center. What do you call it? The cell? The jail? No, the police office. But she ends up going to the police office to sign in, or whatever police officers do on their first day. No, so she goes to the police office and she's told that her partner isn't there and he's gone off on a lead. And so she gets the so she overhears this information and ends up getting to the suspect's house before her partner. So when she gets there, Ji-Hyun finds her in a compromising situation and thinks that she kills the suspect. So he makes a citizen's arrest, but he's an officer, so he ends up arresting her. And then it takes them a while, but she eventually grows onto Ji-Hyun and they become a great team. They become a great team after the mess was sorted. So the show the reason why I feel like she could have been written out or whatever, and it wouldn't make a huge difference, is because the show didn't really focus on her much. Although throughout the show she was suspicious, just like most commenters, because I was watching on Viki, and the Viki commenters are like, friggin' Woo-Kyung, she's red cry, like she's mad sus, this girl's crazy. But yeah, so she also thought that Woo-Kyung could possibly be red cry because there was way too many instances where she was connected with the crimes that were going on. Like, why is everything, not only is it coming back to Hanul Center, but Woo-Kyung, it's coming back specifically to you. That's what she was thinking. And yeah, they didn't do much with her character. I think they could have done a little more, but at the end, sort of at the ending, they kind of threw in like, oh, she got issues too, so she's getting abused too. So her issue was that her stepbrother would like beat the shit out of her and she wouldn't do anything because when she was younger, her mother told her not to do anything or say anything or to fight back when her stepbrother would be abusive towards her, because she didn't want the marriage to be affected or whatever. And so as Woo-Kyung is older, she kind of couldn't get out of that. She couldn't get past it. Not Woo-Kyung, Soo Young couldn't get past it. But that's like the only little bit of information that we actually know about her. Oh, and also she went to the club and beat the shit out of a guy because he like harassed her or something. But like, didn't she like call him? Yeah, she went to the club and she beat the shit out of the guy. Although she's the one who invited him, from whatever. I finished the show like a couple of days ago, so everything is like has kind of like escaped my mind a little bit. But yeah. So next we have Lee Eun-ho, played by Hak-Yeon, also known as N. So N is so cute. I actually miss VIX so much. But like, I'm not like that great of a VIX fan, because the last song I remember from them, I'll put it here when I finally remember it, and no, was Chained Up. Yeah, like, was it Chained Up? Or am I thinking of Infinite? I'm pretty sure it's Chained. Yeah, it's Chained Up. I'm trying to remember a song, but like Infinite and VIX are like mixing together in my head, so I can't really remember the name of the song. But anyways, yeah. So Eun-ho was a groundskeeper, sort of, like technician, cleaner, truck driver. Like, he had all sorts of jobs, but his main one was he works as a technician slash groundskeeper security at Hanul Center, where Woo-Kyung works at. When we were first introduced to him, he had kidnapped Woo-Kyung's daughter and was just chilling with her in the garden at the back. And I was like, nigga, what is you doing? But so because of that situation, Woo-Kyung ended up having a miscarriage. That's when she had the miscarriage. So Eun-ho is a pretty like quiet, like very to himself kind of character kind of guy. And he used to be at an orphanage that the founder of Hanul Center owned. So his story is pretty sad. Oh my god. He was from that orphanage and ended up being brought up by the founder, and while under the founder's care, Eun-ho suffered a lot of abuse from the founder, which is what made him a little bit weird in his adulthood, because he couldn't really like communicate with adults, it seemed, and he was a little bit off, and he would only be seen around children, which is suspicious. Like, but in his case, I think his mental level, they never really talked about his mental level, but I think his mental level was at a child's age, which is why he only got along well and better with children. Because of his abuse from the founder, and also not only was he suffering abuse from the founder, the son, is it the son or the grandson of the founder, who is now running the Hanul Center, he was also abusing Eun-ho, but in a different way. Like, he would beat him up and shit and talk down to him, and they would like use him as a scapegoat. Like, he literally murdered somebody and try to pin it on Eun-ho, which is really shitty. Eun-ho ends up falling victim to Red Cry. Well, yeah, he ends up falling victim to Red Cry's ways and ends up working for him. But like, I really felt so bad for him. I feel like they could have given Eun-ho a redemption arc, because this poor kid suffered a lot, and the way they did him dirty. So the last character we have is Red Cry, and Red Cry is kind of like a cult leader, because he I don't know how many members he was working with, but it doesn't seem as if it was only him working going around doing the killings, because at the end when he gets caught, he says that the last two killings that he was gonna the last two killings he personally did them himself, because he had a connection with them. But like, they don't, other than Eun-ho, were the other people like working with him, like they never, I don't know, talked about that. They didn't like that. I don't get it. The show kind of ended kind of weird. Like, some questions were not answered. Like, so most of the killings, did Eun-ho do it or somebody else do it? Because they were insinuating as if he didn't do the killings, Unho, because there's some situations where the killings happen and Unho wasn't there. But then Red Cry, when he gets caught, says the last 2 killings are the only ones he did. But I know the first killing was neither of them. It was the doctor. So yeah, so Red Cry is kind of like a cult leader, and he started up this website, the secret website, for people to come on and talk about either abusive things that they're seeing, or for partners who have children, but it has to do with kids getting abused, to come and talk about it. And then when they talk about it, he would contact them and try to help them by telling them to off them abusive people, the abusive partners. And if the people themselves can't do the killings, he will then come, either one of his people will come and do the killings for you. Yeah. And so Bintna's mother was one of the people who worked with Red Cry, and he ended up making her decide to kill herself because she abused her kid. And yeah, that's the type of leader he was. So that's all the characters. So now that I'm doing the review and talking about the show, I realize there's some plot holes, but that doesn't change my overall thoughts of it. And I think this drama is actually really, really, really good. It just leaves with some open-ended questions, but maybe I didn't pay enough attention, so I don't remember if they answer them or not, because honestly it's escaping my mind. Yeah, so the plot twist about who the little girl in the green dress is at the end had me shook to the floor. I was like, what? But like, there's some things that I can understand. Like, why the hell is there a statute of limitation on murder? I don't get that. Also, the show really made you like low-key, as the show progressed, you low-key were rooting for Red Cry, because in a way he was kind of helping these kids because they were in horrible situations, and killing off those parents was setting them free. If, for example, in Hana's case, he killed her mother, but then again, it was like, when did she really deserve to die? Because Hana's mother got killed because she was out here struggling with Hana on the streets, making Hana go in garbage bags and going garbage bags to get like supplies and food and stuff. And they were living in the like attic of the Hano Center. Yeah, so that's why she got killed off, which is pretty sad, because I don't think Hana's mother really did anything wrong. She literally escaped with her daughter from an abusive man, and then boom, she gets killed because what? She has no money. That's not something she could really control at that moment. Like, she was doing her best, so she didn't really deserve to die, which is like where the show like makes you question your, but yeah, it makes you your morality, because at one end you're like rooting for Red Cry, the other end you're like, oh my god, you're out here murdering people. Then you're like, okay, these people are like abusing kids, so they should die, or should they not die? Like, it's still murder. Like, you know, it has you kind of like tiptoeing like this. But yeah, so there's 2 cases where I was like, I don't understand why you killed them. For the first one was Hana's mother. Like, she couldn't help herself that she's broke. Like, what the hell? So the way Anho explained it is that they were killing these people so that the kids would have better options. But at the same time, it's like, for Bintna's case, she didn't want her mom to die, because her mom committed suicide in front of her. Like, this girl saw her mom's, well, they didn't show it on Korean TV because, you know, censorship, but like, she saw her mom's brains and shit all on the floor. Like, you know how messed up Bitna probably is now, because she saw her mom like commit the S word, and if she goes back and researches why her mom did this and finds out this serial killer ended up killing her mom basically, you think she's gonna grow up good? I think she's gonna grow up with some little issues because of that. And she also says that she didn't want her mother to die. She just wanted her mother to get better and become a better person instead of like abusing her, which is like, also if you look at it from the kids' perspectives, do these kids really want their parents to die, or do they want their parents to stop being abusive? Come on. But I guess Red Cry's reasoning for killing them off goes back to Hana, because Hana's life was getting better after the death of her mother, but then her shitty ass father is like, hey, I finna take her back to the house, because he didn't want it to get out that he had killed Hana's siblings and buried the sibling in the backyard with the dogs. But yeah, he ends up dying. I would rate this drama a 7 out of 10, because rewatching it and now talking about it and looking back, there's some stuff where I was like, you could have explained just a little more. And other than that, it was really easy to watch. Like, although it took me a week to finish watching it the second time, it was still pretty good while I was watching it. Like, I just get easily distracted. That was it. That was all. The only problem I had is how come the only people who had like an actual like happy ending was the fucking cheating ass husband and the mistress? Like, that was the only romance they showed us. The hell? Like, you could have given us at least Soo Young getting a man or something, but like, that's not the focus of the show. Yes, the other thing, I was watching the show on Viki, and I was like, because you know how commenters can comment? I like watching it with the comments, because sometimes the people watching it have some common sense and it's fun watching it with them, but other times, my goodness, I don't know who was watching this show, but why are you watching this show? Like, one, they didn't understand what was happening. Two, they kept judging Woo-Kyung's character in a negative light, and I was just like, why? Like, who are you? And they were just so random sometimes. I'm like, are you guys even paying attention? Gosh, it was so annoying. Like, there's a scene where Woo-Kyung literally has a mental breakdown when she sees that her husband is when she catches her husband with the mistress, right? And she's having like a breakdown, like smashing up his car, and they were judging her for that. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? I'm like, do y'all not realize what's happening? Like, she literally just lost her had a miscarriage, and here is this man cheating on her. For what? Like, for what? Like, the only time where I was like, yeah, she kind of cuckoo in the head. Well, there were other times where I was like, she was kind of cuckoo in the head. But like, this instance right here, like, at least she beating up the car and not him. Because if it was me, that bat or whatever she was using will be upside his head, period. Anyways, so that's it for this drama. I'm done. Gosh, I thought I was going to be done by 6 to be out by 7. But look at me, finishing at 7:45. I started filming at 5 something. Takes me forever to do things. Anyways, so I gotta go. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you guys actually, either if you've watched this drama, comment down below and tell me your thoughts. And if you haven't watched it, I suggest you like get up right now and go watch it, and then come back here and we can talk about it. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.